Welcome back. Hotels across Kenya on high alert at the moment following a series of blasts across the capital, Nairobi. Officials say 6 people have died so far, and they do expect that death toll to rise. Let's go across to our East Africa correspondent. It's Sonny Meto who joins us to bring us the very latest on this particular story. Sonny, good to have you with us. What's the latest on the situation that you have for us?
Well, at least right now, what's happening in the Eastleigh area, or where the blasts occurred last night, what's happening is people are counting their losses, be it in terms of their loved ones being in hospital, having lost their lives, or maybe just in terms of the businesses, how they've been affected. And basically, word from the hospital is that out of the 25 who were rushed to hospital last night, at least 11 people have been released or discharged from hospital and are actually recuperating at home. 10 people still remain under observation at the Kenyatta National Hospital. The government says it's still adamant the death toll or the casualties are still 6, as they earlier mentioned on the day. But investigations are slowly unfolding. Actually, if I may add, very slowly. Very little information is coming from government or any officials for that matter regarding what actually happened yesterday.
Sonia, it doesn't take much to remember what happened at the Westgate shopping centre as well with that terrorist attack. What are people in Nairobi telling you on the ground? Are they concerned this is just one of many attacks that could take place in the country?
Well, I could not put it better than a general major who said today during a graduation parade of some of the KDF soldiers who are actually fighting in Somalia. He says that this is a real and diverse threat to the national cohesion. Kenyans are afraid of each other, afraid of the police, afraid of foreigners, and it's creating a sort of discord. Some people are actually writing articles or blogs comparing or asking, are the Somali refugees or the Somali residents in the country victims or casualties? A few people are saying it's a mistake being paid by many but being done by very few, and the people responsible, the authorities, need to actually narrow down on who's really involved. As you know, right now there's been reports that hundreds of youths have been arrested after what happened last night, but as far as we're concerned, this is a normal occurrence. Immediately after such an incident, as you remember, just on Sunday actually, another blast occurred in the same place. 2 weeks ago, another blast in Mombasa. What follows up is rounding up of youth being charged with different things like being idle in the streets or maybe drunken behavior, but no real say accused will stand any charges, or any charges will stick on any suspected terrorists. Very few, if any, since Kenya sent her troops to Somalia. And this is what a lot of Kenyans are afraid of. They're not afraid of the incidents taking place. They agree that terrorism is a thing that everyone in the world has to deal with now. But what they're worried about is the aftermath, the actions that follow this, is that the real people who committed these crimes still get away, but the people who are living there, afraid of the terrorists, suffer the consequences.
Now, when it comes to any more official word from the government, Sony, do we know when there might be any type of press conference that's been scheduled for us to hear from Kenya's government themselves?
We can only hope so, in what appears to me like a sort of calculated censorship, if not maybe the media actually, which is more sad considering this to becoming a norm. If you observe today's news in Kenya's local news, you'll barely see anything on Eastleigh, meaning there's no new word, there's nothing new to report other than exactly what eyewitnesses said on the ground, and the first press conference, which was given around midnight in East African time. So there's been very little reporting of this incident since yesterday, and there's been very little coming from the government. Right now, the government is doing a huge press conference where they're actually having what people are terming as a self-appraisal of how well they've done so far, but little has been mentioned in terms of security and how far they've come in terms of solving what seems to be a long-term problem that needs attendance and needs vigilance and needs a lot of participation, not just from the government, but also from the communities.
Sonia, wonderful insight from inside Kenya. My thanks to you for the moment. It's my colleague, East Africa correspondent, Sonia Meto, making sense of a very complicated story.
Know more about your world. eNCA.com